The morning light poured through floor-to-ceiling windows, painting everything in shades of gold. She stood in his penthouse bedroom, wrapped in nothing but his white dress shirt, the fabric still warm from the night they had shared. Her heart was full. Her guard was down. And for the first time in years, she believed that love might actually be possible. He sat on the edge of the bed, his back to her, staring at something she could not see. She walked toward him, her bare feet silent on the marble floor. She placed her hand gently on his shoulder. "Last night was," she started, her voice soft with hope. He did not turn around. "I have been thinking," he said. His voice was flat, controlled. The same tone he used to close billion-dollar deals. "About us?" she asked. "About the future." She felt her heart lift. The future. He was thinking about the future. About them. "I want a child someday," he continued. She smiled, tears threatening to form in her eyes. "Me too. I have always wanted. But not with you." The words hit her like a physical blow. She took a step back, her hand falling from his shoulder as if she had touched something hot. "What did you say?" He finally turned to look at her. His face was a mask. Cold. Impenetrable. The same face that terrified boardrooms full of executives. The same face she had somehow convinced herself was capable of love. "You are confusing intimacy with ownership," he said. "I am who I am. You are someone who works in my building." Her chest tightened so violently she thought she might stop breathing. "I do not understand," she whispered. "Last night, you said." "I know what I said." He stood up, creating distance between them. "But morning changes things. I have had time to think clearly." Clearly. The word hung in the air between them, heavy with devastation. She wanted to scream. She wanted to throw something. She wanted to collapse onto the floor and demand that he explain how the same man who had held her face in his hands last night, who had whispered that he had never felt this way about anyone, could now look at her like she was a stranger requesting a meeting he had no intention of taking. But she did not do any of those things. Instead, she felt something inside her go quiet. Something fundamental. Something that had trusted him. And that silence was worse than any tears. Welcome back to another powerful story, my beloved listeners. Kindly tell me where you are watching from and what time it is where you are at. If you are new here, prepare for a story of betrayal, unexpected love, and what truly makes a family. Drop everything and listen closely. This tale of heartbreak and redemption might just change how you view love and family forever. Now, let us go back. Let us go back to the beginning. Because to understand how this moment came to be, you need to understand how two people who seemed destined for nothing but destruction somehow found their way to each other in the first place. 3 months before that devastating morning. The conference room on the 47th floor of the corporate tower smelled like leather, expensive cologne, and the kind of ambition that destroyed marriages and friendships without a second thought. 14 executives sat around a table made from a single slab of imported walnut, each one dressed in suits that cost more than most people made in a month. They were waiting. Everyone in that room was always waiting. For him. He entered without announcement, without greeting, without acknowledging that 14 pairs of eyes had immediately snapped to attention. He moved to the head of the table with the ease of someone who had never in his life been told no. He did not sit. He stood, looking out the window at a city that existed, as far as he was concerned, primarily to serve his ambitions. The silence stretched. This was his favorite weapon. Silence. He had learned early in his career that most people could not tolerate quiet. They would fill it with nervous chatter, with unnecessary explanations, with information they had not intended to share. All he had to do was wait. 20 seconds passed. 30. The head of operations cleared his throat. "Sir, if I could just explain the quarterly projections." The door opened. Every head turned. A woman entered. She was not tall, but she carried herself as if she were. She wore a simple black suit that somehow made every other person in the room look overdressed and trying too hard. Her dark hair was pulled back from her face, revealing sharp cheekbones and eyes that held the kind of intelligence that made lesser men nervous. She did not apologize for her interruption. She did not explain her presence. She simply walked to an empty space along the back wall and stood there, watching. He raised an eyebrow. "And you are?" "The crisis consultant your board hired," she said. Her voice was calm, measured. I am here to observe. Observe, he repeated. Yes. He almost smiled. Almost. Nobody observed him. People deferred to him. They sought his approval. They trembled slightly when he directed his attention toward them. They did not stand against walls with their arms crossed, looking at him like he was a specimen under glass. The head of operations, emboldened by the interruption, tried again. Sir, if we could return to the quarterly. You are approaching this backwards. The words came from the woman against the wall. Clear. Direct. Unafraid. Every person in that room stopped breathing. He turned slowly to face her. Excuse me. She pushed away from the wall and walked toward the table. Not quickly. Not slowly. Just movement with purpose. You are treating a reputation crisis like a mechanical problem, she said. Throwing lawyers and PR statements at something that requires genuine accountability. People do not trust corporations. They trust authenticity. And right now, there is nothing authentic about this company's response. The room had gone completely silent. The kind of silence that precedes either violence or termination. He studied her. Most people looked away when he stared at them for too long. Some grew visibly uncomfortable after just a few seconds. She met his gaze without flinching. Without blinking. Without any indication that his attention bothered her in the slightest. And you are an expert on authenticity, he said. There was an edge to his voice now. A warning that everyone else in the room recognized immediately. She did not seem to notice. Or perhaps she did not care. I am an expert on what happens when powerful men think they are immune to consequences, she replied. Which, from where I am standing, is exactly your problem. Somewhere in the room, someone inhaled sharply. He felt something stir in his chest. Not anger, exactly. Something else. Something he had not felt in so long that it took him a moment to identify it. Interest. Everyone out, he said quietly. The executives did not need to be told twice. They gathered their materials with a hurried efficiency of people who have just been granted a reprieve they did not expect. Within 30 seconds, the room was empty except for the two of them. She remained exactly where she was. Arms crossed. Expression neutral. You are either very brave, he said, or very stupid. I am expensive, she replied. Which means I do not waste time on flattery. Despite himself, despite every instinct that told him to reassert dominance, to remind her who controlled this room and this company and by extension a significant portion of the economic landscape, he felt the corner of his mouth twitch upward. Fair enough. He moved to stand beside her at the windows. Up close, he could see more details. A small scar above her left eyebrow. The way her jaw tensed slightly when she was thinking. The complete absence of jewelry, of makeup, of any attempt to be anything other than exactly what she was. Tell me what I am doing wrong, he said. Besides trying to intimidate me. Besides that. She turned to look out at the city below them. Hundreds of floors in every direction. Millions of people going about their lives, unaware of the conversations happening in rooms like this one that would affect their livelihoods, their futures. You think power protects you, she said. It does not. It isolates you. And right now, you are so isolated that you cannot see your company as bleeding trust because you treat people like variables in an equation. The words landed harder than he expected. You do not pull punches, he said. I do not get paid to. What do you get paid to do? She turned to face him fully. Her eyes held something he could not quite identify. Not pity. Not fear. Something closer to truth. Save men like you from yourselves. Something in her voice, in the matter-of-fact way she delivered those words, cracked something open in his chest. He had spent years building walls. Perfecting his armor. Eliminating every weakness that might be exploited. And she had found a flaw in 3 sentences. Have dinner with me, he said. No. The refusal was so immediate, so devoid of hesitation, that he actually blinked. Why not? Because you are not asking for dinner. She gathered a folder from the table. You are asking for control. And I do not get controlled. I was not. Yes, you were. She headed for the door, and he found himself taking a step after her. Not consciously. Just movement toward something he suddenly did not want to let leave. What if I said I do not usually ask twice? She paused, her hand on the door handle. Then I would say you should practice. Growth happens in discomfort. The door closed behind her with a soft click that seemed to echo in the suddenly empty room. He stood there for a long moment, looking at the space where she had been, feeling something he had not felt in years. Curiosity. Over the following weeks, she became a constant presence in his professional world. She sat in on meetings. She challenged decisions. She questioned assumptions that no one else dared to question. She was in conference rooms when he arrived and still working in her glass-walled temporary office when he left. She refused every attempt he made to charm her. She seemed genuinely unimpressed by his wealth. She treated his power as an inconvenience to be worked around rather than a force to be admired. It was infuriating. It was fascinating. He started finding excuses to work late. Staying at the office until the cleaning crews arrived. Walking past her office multiple times per evening, telling himself he was just checking on various departments, knowing he was lying. One night, he stood outside her office for nearly 5 minutes, watching her work through the glass. She was reviewing documents with intense concentration, making notes in the margins, occasionally pausing to think about something before continuing. She moved with efficiency but not haste. Every action was purposeful. She looked up. Their eyes met through the glass. He should have walked away. Should have pretended he was heading somewhere else. Should have maintained the fiction that he was not, in fact, becoming obsessed with a woman who seemed constitutionally incapable of being impressed by him. Instead, he stood there. She raised an eyebrow. He felt his face heat, something that had not happened since he was a teenager, and he turned and walked away without explanation. The next night, when he passed her office, her door was open. He paused in the hallway, looking at that open door. It could mean nothing. It could mean everything. It was an invitation or a challenge, and he was not certain which. He accepted it as both. He knocked on the doorframe. She looked up from her laptop, unsurprised. Let me guess. You cannot sleep. How did you know? Because you are standing outside my office at midnight instead of being home in whatever penthouse I am sure you own. He stepped inside without waiting for an explicit invitation. Do you ever stop working? Do you? Tuche. He sat in the chair across from her desk, suddenly aware that he did not know how to do this. How to just be in a room with someone without an agenda, without a deal to close, without a goal to achieve. Can I ask you something? He said. She closed her laptop, giving him her full attention. The gesture felt significant somehow. Like she was choosing to see him. That depends on the question. Why are you not afraid of me? She considered this carefully, her head tilting slightly to the side. Because fear and respect are not the same thing. You want people to fear you because it is easier than earning their respect. That is not an answer. Yes, it is. She leaned back in her chair. You are not scary. You are lonely. And lonely people lash out because they do not know how to reach out. The words hit him like a physical blow. He had spent years perfecting his image. His persona. The untouchable billionaire who controlled empires and ended careers with a single phone call. And she had just named his truth in one sentence. I am not lonely, he said. But the lie was so obvious that he could taste it on his tongue. Okay. I am not. I said okay. He ran a hand through his hair, suddenly frustrated. Why do you do that? Do what? Agree without agreeing. It is maddening. She smiled. The first genuine smile he had seen from her since they met. It transformed her face in a way that made his chest tighten unexpectedly. Good. You need more madness in your life. They sat in silence for a moment. The city lights glittered through the windows behind her. Somewhere far below, traffic moved in patterns he could not see. The world continued outside this room, but in here, time seemed to have paused. When did you stop being a person and become a brand? She asked softly. The question gutted him. Because he knew. He knew the exact moment. The exact day. The exact meeting where he had decided that feelings were liabilities and relationships were strategic moves and the only way to survive in this world was to become untouchable. I do not know, he lied. Liar. He laughed. The sound surprised him. Sharp. Bitter. Real. "You are relentless," he said. "You are deflecting." He met her eyes. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing." The word was simple. Honest. "I do not want anything from you. That is why you cannot figure me out." She was right. Every person in his life wanted something. Money. Access. Proximity to power. A favor that would be called in later. A connection that could be leveraged. She just wanted him to be better. "What if I want something from you?" he asked. "Like what?" "I do not know yet." She stood and began gathering her things. "Well, when you figure it out, let me know. I am going home." "Wait." He stood too, moving closer before he could stop himself. "Stay. Just a little longer." "Why?" He should have made up an excuse. Should have referenced a document he needed her opinion on or a meeting that required planning. Instead, the truth came out before he could stop it. "Because I do not want to be alone right now." The honesty surprised them both. He saw something shift in her expression. Something soften. She set her bag back down. "Okay," she said. "But we are just talking." They talked until dawn broke over the city. They talked about everything and nothing. About the parents who had raised him to believe that weakness was unforgivable and that love was a transaction. About the brother she had lost when she was 23, the one whose absence still ached like a phantom limb. About fear disguised as ambition. About dreams that had been abandoned so long ago that they barely remembered what they had once wanted. He told her things he had never told anyone. Not the therapist he had seen briefly in his 30s. Not the friends he had accumulated and discarded over the years. Not the parade of women who had moved through his life like decorative objects, present but never really seen. He told her about the moment he realized his parents would never love him the way he needed to be loved. The meeting where a mentor he trusted had betrayed him and taught him that trust was a mistake. The morning he had looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back. She listened. Not the way most people listened, already formulating their response, waiting for an opening to talk about themselves. She just heard him. And somehow, that was more valuable than anything else she could have given. "You are good at this," he said as the sky began to lighten from black to deep purple. "At what?" "Making people feel less alone." Her expression turned sad in a way that made him want to reach across the space between them and touch her face. "That is because I know what alone feels like," she said. "You seem so confident though. So sure of yourself." Confidence and loneliness are not mutually exclusive. She looked out the window at the approaching dawn. You can be excellent at your job and still go home to an empty apartment. You can have your entire life together and still wish someone cared enough to ask how your day was. How was your day? The question came out before he could analyze it, before he could wonder if it was strategic or calculate what response it might generate. She smiled. Genuine and warm. Better now. Somewhere around sunrise, the conversation stopped being words. He did not remember moving closer. Did not remember reaching out. But suddenly his hand was on hers, and she was not pulling away, and the world outside the windows had ceased to exist. He kissed her softly, expecting her to stop him. She did not. "This is a bad idea," she whispered against his mouth. "Probably. I do not do casual." "I know." "Then what is this?" He pulled back just enough to look at her. Really look at her. At the woman who had walked into his boardroom and seen through every wall he had built. Who had refused to be charmed or intimidated. Who had simply demanded that he be better, not for her benefit, but for his own. "I do not know," he said honestly. "But I do not want it to stop." They moved to the leather couch in her office. The city woke up around them, unaware. Two people who had been alone so long they had forgotten what it felt like to be truly seen. For once in his life, he was not performing. Not calculating. Not strategizing 3 moves ahead. He was just present. Vulnerable. Real. Morning light streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows when she finally pulled back. Her hair was tangled. Her blouse was wrinkled. And her eyes held his with an intensity that made breathing difficult. "I want something real," she said quietly. "Marriage one day. A child who knows us both. Not games. Not transactions. Real. He looked at her. At this woman who had somehow gotten past every defense he had ever built. Who made him feel things he had trained himself not to feel. Who was offering him something he had spent years convincing himself he did not need. And his mouth opened. And the wrong man answered. You are confusing intimacy with ownership. The words left him before he could stop them. Not from his heart, which was reaching toward her desperately. From somewhere else. From the wounded, terrified place inside him that still believed love was just another word for leverage. Her hands stilled on his chest. The warmth between them turned to ice so quickly he could feel it crystallizing in the air. What did you say? Her voice was level. Dangerously calm. Every nerve in his body screamed at him to take it back. To apologize. To explain that he did not mean it, that the words came from somewhere broken, somewhere he was still trying to fix. But his pride had seized control. That vicious, wounded pride that had protected him for so many years had now become the very thing that would destroy the only chance at happiness he had ever had. I am who I am, he said, each word a nail in his own coffin. You are someone who works in my building. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of every possibility dying in real time. She stood with a grace that made the moment somehow worse. She did not rush. She did not slam things or raise her voice. She simply began putting herself back together with methodical precision. Buttoning her blouse. Smoothing her skirt. Running fingers through hair that his hands had tangled minutes ago. Do not. She held up one hand when he started to speak, still not looking at him. Do not try to soften it now. I did not mean. Yes, you did. She finally met his eyes, and he wished she had not. The hurt there was brief, a flash of lightning before the storm. What replaced it was worse. Nothing. Absolute emptiness. You meant every word, she continued. That is who you are when you are scared. I am not scared. She laughed. The sound was sharp and bitter and nothing like the genuine laughter they had shared just hours ago. You are terrified. Someone just offered you something real, and you reacted like a cornered animal. I am not. Stop. Her voice cut through his protests like a blade. Just stop. I am not interested in watching you lie to yourself anymore. He stood, reaching toward her. Let me explain. She stepped back, putting the desk between them. There is nothing to explain. I was not confused. You are. She picked up her bag, her laptop, the coffee cup from hours ago when everything had been different. Every movement was deliberate. Final. Where are you going? Away from here. Away from you. Please. I told you I wanted something real. Her hand was on the door handle now. And you told me I was not worth it. Message received. That is not what I said. It is exactly what you said. She pulled the door open and paused without turning around. I hope whatever you are protecting in that fortress of yours is worth it. Because it looks pretty lonely from where I am standing. The door closed with a soft click. That small sound echoed louder than any slam ever could. He stood in the center of the room, surrounded by evidence of what had just happened. The wrinkled cushions on the couch. The empty coffee cups. The lingering scent of her perfume. He waited for relief to come. For the satisfaction of maintaining control. Of protecting himself. Of winning whatever twisted game his broken mind had convinced him they were playing. Nothing came. Just a hollow ache in his chest that felt suspiciously like the beginning of the worst mistake of his life. He pulled out his phone. Typed a message. Can we talk? He stared at those 3 words for 5 minutes. Then he deleted them. She had told him exactly who she was and what she wanted. He had told her exactly what he thought of both. What else was there to say? The days that followed felt wrong in a way he could not name. He woke up in the same penthouse. Wore the same expensive suits. Attended the same meetings in the same conference rooms. But everything had shifted somehow. Every room felt emptier. Every conversation felt more exhausting. Every victory felt more hollow. His assistant noticed first. Sir, are you feeling all right? You seem distracted. I am fine. It is just that you have been sitting in this meeting for 20 minutes without saying a word. He looked up, suddenly realizing that there were 6 people around the conference table, all watching him with expressions ranging from concern to confusion. Apologies. Something came up. Reschedule. He left them staring after him, whispers already starting before the door had fully closed. In his office, he told himself he was checking security protocols when he pulled up the camera feeds. Verifying access logs. Doing his job. But his fingers navigated to the cameras covering her temporary office with the precision of muscle memory. Her desk was empty. No laptop. No files. No coffee cups. Just bare wood and a vacant chair. His chest constricted so tightly he had to grip the edge of his desk. His assistant appeared in the doorway. "Sir, her resignation letter arrived this morning. She is requesting immediate release from her contract." What reason did she give? Personal circumstances requiring relocation. Relocation where? She did not specify. He read the letter 17 times. It was professional. Brief. Completely devoid of emotion. It said nothing and everything at once. He approved it immediately. Making her stay would just be another form of cruelty. And he had already inflicted enough. Weeks bled into months. He threw himself into work with a ferocity that impressed even his most ambitious executives. He acquired companies that competitors thought unreachable. He launched initiatives that reshaped entire industries. He expanded into territories that had been deemed impenetrable. His net worth climbed. His influence spread. His empire grew. And he felt nothing. Late at night, alone in his penthouse, he would catch himself reaching for his phone to text her before remembering that she had blocked his number. He would see a woman with dark hair across a restaurant, and his heart would lurch before he realized it was not her. He would lie awake in his expensive bed, staring at his expensive ceiling, surrounded by all the expensive things he had acquired in his expensive life, and wonder why all of it felt so utterly worthless. His friends, the few he had maintained, stopped inviting him to gatherings. Not because he was difficult or demanding, but because his presence had become like a black hole. He absorbed energy from every room without giving anything back. "You are different," one of them said after a particularly silent dinner. "Ever since that consultant left." "I am the same." "No, you are not." His friend studied him across the table. "You used to be arrogant. Now you are just hollow." He wanted to argue. To deny it. To insist that nothing had changed, that he was still the same person he had always been. But the words would not come. Because it was true. He had spent years building walls to protect himself from exactly this kind of pain. And now he was trapped inside them. Watching life happen through bulletproof glass. Unable to touch anything. Unable to feel anything. Unable to do anything but remember the moment he had thrown away the only person who had ever seen him clearly and loved him anyway. 3 months after she walked out of his life, he sat alone in the conference room where they had first met. The same walnut table gleamed in the afternoon light. The same leather chairs sat empty around it. The same windows overlooked a city full of people who would never know his name and would not care if they did. He pulled up old security footage on his tablet. Watched her walk through the lobby. Into the elevator. Down the hall. Into his office. Watched her leave for the last time. Her posture straight. Her dignity intact. He did not watch it again. Once was enough to understand that he had destroyed something irreplaceable. He closed the tablet and sat in the gathering darkness, surrounded by everything he had built and nothing that mattered. Somewhere across the country, in a hotel bathroom she had rented for the night, she stared at 2 pink lines on a pregnancy test. Her hands were steady, but inside, everything was shifting. A new life. Growing inside her. His child. Their child. No. Her child. The distinction mattered. Because she had already made her choice. She had spent weeks after leaving his office waiting for regret to find her. Waiting to second-guess her decision to walk away from a man who clearly needed her more than he would ever admit. That regret never came. Because what she had felt for him was not love. Not yet. It had been potential. Possibility. The ghost of what they could have been if he had been brave enough to reach for it. But he was not brave. And she was not interested in raising 2 children. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. Same dark eyes. Same sharp cheekbones. Same woman who had walked out of a penthouse office with her dignity intact. But something fundamental had shifted now. She was going to be someone's mother. The thought terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. Over the following weeks, she built a fortress of her own. Not made of money or power. Made of decisions. She told no one about him. Listed no father on the preliminary medical forms. Created a story so simple it was almost true. She had wanted a child, chosen to have one, and was doing this alone. People asked questions with their eyes more than their mouths. She answered with a smile that did not invite follow-up. Her doctor, a kind woman with grey streaks in her hair, asked gently during the first appointment. "Is the father involved?" "No. And he will not be." The doctor nodded, made a note, moved on. No judgment. No pity. Just acceptance. She was grateful for the simplicity. She threw herself into preparation with the same intensity she had once applied to saving failing companies. She read every book. Took every class. Joined online groups where other women shared their fears and victories in the raw language of experience. At night, she would sit in the nursery she was slowly assembling, a room that had been a storage closet in her previous life, and talk to the child growing inside her. "Your name is Luna," she would whisper, one hand curved around her belly. "Like the light that shines in the darkness. Like hope when everything else has gone quiet. You are going to be so loved, baby girl. So wanted. You will never have to beg for someone's attention. You will never have to wonder if you are worth their time." The promise felt sacred. Unbreakable. She meant every word. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, he was becoming a ghost in his own life. His colleagues noticed the change first. The sharp wit had dulled. The commanding presence had faded. He still ran meetings and closed deals and made decisions that moved markets. But he did it all mechanically. Like a machine executing code without understanding why. "He is not the same," his CFO said during a private conversation with the board. "Has not been for months. Should we be worried? I do not know. He still shows up. Still signs off on everything. He is just absent." Absent. That was exactly the right word. He moved through his days like a ghost haunting his own life. Same penthouse. Same expensive clothes. Same luxury car. But none of it felt real anymore. The social invitations stopped coming after he attended a charity gala and stood in the corner for 2 hours without speaking to a single person, then left without saying goodbye to anyone. The women who had once pursued him gave up after he declined their advances with such polite disinterest that it was clear he had not even noticed they were interested. He let it all slip away. What was the point of pretending? Late at night, he would stand at his windows and wonder what she was doing. If she ever thought about him. If she had found someone worthy of the love she had offered him. The wondering ate at him. But not enough to make him do anything about it. Because what would he even say? "Sorry I destroyed the best thing in my life. Sorry I was too much of a coward to recognize what you were offering. Sorry seems insufficient for the magnitude of my failure." So he said nothing. Did nothing. Became nothing. His assistant, loyal despite everything, tried occasionally to pull him back. "There is a summit next month. National level. You have been invited to speak. Decline. It would be good for the company. Send someone else. They specifically asked for you. They will survive the disappointment." But his assistant was persistent. Brought it up again a week later. The summit organizers called again. "They really want you there. Apparently, there is a keynote speaker they think you should hear." "Who?" "A crisis consultant. She has been making waves in the industry. Started her own firm about a year ago and it is already one of the top performers in the field." Something in his chest stirred. "What is her name?" His assistant checked the notes. "She is speaking on ethical leadership. Her work on accountability and authentic corporate communication has been revolutionary apparently." "What is her name?" The assistant paused, sensing something in his voice. "The documents just list her as the founder of a consultancy. I can find out if..." "Never mind." He pulled up the summit website himself. Scrolled through the schedule. Found the keynote session. And there she was. Her photograph stared back at him from the screen. Professional. Confident. Transformed from the woman he had known into something stronger, more solid. The uncertainty he had once glimpsed in late-night conversations was gone, replaced by the kind of power that came from surviving something impossible. She had built an empire of her own. Without him. Despite him. He stared at her photograph for a long time. Then he picked up the phone. "Book my travel to the summit," he said. "Whatever it takes. I will be there. Sir. I will be there." For the first time in months, he felt something other than numbness. It was not hope. Hope required too much optimism. It was more like dread and anticipation twisted together, making his chest tight and his hands tremble. He had no plan. No idea what he would say if he saw her. No illusion that she would want to speak to him. But he would be there anyway. Because the alternative, spending the rest of his life wondering, was finally worse than the fear of facing her. What he did not know, what he could not possibly have imagined, was that she would not be arriving at that summit alone. And that everything he thought he understood about the past 2 years was about to shatter into a million pieces. Family, that is where we have to pause for now. I know. But trust me when I tell you that what happens next at that summit will change everything. Everything. For both of them. Forever. Stay with me for part 2, because the collision that is coming, the revelation that will break him completely, the moment when he sees his own eyes staring back at him from a face he has never seen before, that is when this story becomes something you will never forget. If you are feeling this story, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you have not already, because you do not want to miss what comes next. Drop a comment and tell me, do you think he deserves a second chance? Should she let him anywhere near her life after what he did? I want to hear from you, family. The morning of the summit arrived wrapped in grey clouds and the kind of rain that turned highways into rivers. She sat in the passenger seat of a car driven by a man named Marcus, a gentle giant who had made his fortune in renewable energy and had become an unexpected friend over the past 2 years. He had hired her firm during a crisis, stayed for her insight, and remained because he saw something in her that reminded him of his late wife. Strength tempered with grace. In the back seat, Luna slept peacefully, her small head tilted against the car seat, clutching the stuffed elephant she refused to sleep without. Almost 3 years old now, with dark curls that escaped every hairstyle and eyes that held the kind of curiosity that asked a million questions per hour. She was perfect. She was everything. "You are going to be brilliant today," Marcus said, glancing at her with the kind of quiet confidence that had made him such a steady presence in their lives. "Some days I am not so sure," she admitted. "That is how you know you are doing it right. The ones who think they have all the answers are the ones you should worry about." She appreciated Marcus. He had never pushed for more than friendship, even though she suspected his feelings ran deeper. When she had gently declined his one attempt to explore something romantic, he had simply nodded and said he would rather have her friendship than lose her entirely. Good men existed. She had just given her heart to the wrong one first. The rain had stopped by the time they reached the summit venue, but the sky remained threatening, heavy with clouds that could not decide whether to clear or storm. Marcus helped her unload their bags, then scooped up a still sleeping Luna with practiced ease. "I will get her settled in the childcare room," he said quietly. "You go check in and prepare for your moment." She watched them walk toward the entrance. Marcus's broad back. Luna's small form nestled against his shoulder. The picture of a family, even though they were not one. Not in the traditional sense. But family was not about blood. Family was about who showed up. Inside, the summit venue buzzed with the aggressive energy of powerful people networking. Hundreds of attendees mingled in lobbies and conference rooms, exchanging business cards and measuring each other's worth with practiced efficiency. She collected her speaker badge and made her way backstage. "You are on in 20 minutes, a production assistant told her, handing over a bottle of water and a wireless microphone. "No podium. You will have the whole stage." Perfect. She found a quiet corner to center herself. Breathed slowly. Reviewed her opening lines. Reminded herself that she had earned this moment through years of hard work and heartbreak and showing up even when she wanted to disappear. No ghost from her past could take this from her. When they called her name, she walked onto that stage like she owned it. The lights were bright enough that she could not see individual faces in the audience. Just shapes. Shadows. The vague impression of hundreds of people watching her, waiting to be convinced. Better that way. Less pressure. She began to speak, and within 30 seconds, every nerve in her body settled. This was her element. This was what she had built her second life doing. Teaching people how to lead with integrity. How to balance power with humanity. How to see consequences before they became catastrophes. Accountability is not weakness, she said, her voice carrying through the hall. It is the foundation of trust. And trust is the only currency that actually matters. The audience was engaged. Leaning forward. Taking notes. She found her rhythm. You can buy loyalty. You can demand obedience. But you cannot purchase genuine trust. That has to be earned. Through consistency. Through honesty. Through the willingness to admit when you are wrong. In the back row, hidden in the shadows where the stage lights could not reach, he sat frozen. His entire world had narrowed to the woman commanding that stage. She looked different. Stronger somehow. More solid. The uncertainty he had glimpsed in those late-night conversations was completely gone, replaced by the kind of confidence that only came from surviving something difficult and emerging on the other side transformed. She had not just survived him. She had transcended him. The difference between power and integrity, she continued, her words cutting through the silence of the auditorium, is what you do when no one is watching. When there is no board to impress. No shareholders to appease. No cameras recording your every move. That is when your true character reveals itself. And that is what people remember. Every sentence felt like an accusation. Every word felt like a reminder of exactly who he had been when no one was watching. When he had been alone with her. When he had destroyed everything. He should leave. The certainty hit him like a physical blow. What had he been thinking? That she would see him and everything would somehow be fixed. That his presence alone would undo 2 years of pain and silence. He stood to go. But the movement caught attention. Heads turned. Someone nearby whispered something that sounded like recognition. He sat back down, trapped by his own reputation. She finished her keynote to thunderous applause. The standing ovation lasted nearly a full minute. She smiled graciously, waved, and exited stage left, feeling the familiar post-speech euphoria of a job exceptionally done. Marcus met her in the green room, grinning broadly. You were phenomenal. The moderator already asked if you are available for the closing panel tomorrow. Really? That is wonderful. She sat down, took a long drink of water, felt the adrenaline slowly begin to drain from her system. Where is Luna? Childcare room. She made a friend apparently. They are building some elaborate structure with blocks. Perfect. Give me 10 minutes to decompress, then I will go get her. Take your time. I will grab you something to eat from the reception. Marcus left, and she sat alone in the quiet green room, letting the energy of the performance fade into something calmer. She had no idea what was coming. The reception hall was chaos. Hundreds of people mingling, drinking, networking with the aggressive determination of professionals who measured success in connections made and opportunities seized. He moved through the crowd like a shark through murky water, staying on the edges, scanning faces, looking for the one person he both needed and dreaded to see. Then he spotted her. She stood near the floor-to-ceiling windows, laughing at something Marcus said. Completely at ease. Radiant in a way that made his chest physically ache. She looked happy. Genuinely, authentically happy. Marcus. Of course. He knew the man by reputation. Self-made billionaire. Philanthropist. The kind of person who made money and then actually used it to make the world better. Everything he was not. Jealousy, sharp and irrational, cut through the numbness that had defined his existence for 2 years. He was halfway across the room before he realized he was moving. Drawn to her like gravity. Unable to stop himself even though every logical part of his brain was screaming that this was a terrible idea. She saw him the same moment he reached her. The smile dropped from her face. Not gradually. Instantaneously. Like someone had flipped a switch and turned off the light behind her eyes. Marcus noticed her expression change, followed her gaze, saw him approaching. Something shifted in the other man's posture. Protective. Territorial. It is fine, she said quietly, though her voice had gone tight. I can handle this. I will be right over there if you need me, Marcus said. The words were calm, but the meaning was clear. A statement and a warning wrapped in one. When they were as alone as two people could be in a room full of hundreds, he tried to speak. Failed. Tried again. Hello. Her expression was completely unreadable. Hello. The single word held nothing. No warmth. No anger. No emotion whatsoever. You were incredible up there, he managed. Thank you. Silence stretched between them, filled with everything that could not be said in a crowded room. I did not know you would be here, he said. Why would you? Fair point. I am glad I came anyway. Are you? Not a question. A challenge. His carefully constructed composure cracked. I have thought about you every day for 2 years, he said. The words came out raw. Unplanned. Honest. That sounds exhausting for you. It has been. Good. The word hit him like a physical blow. Deserved. But painful. Please. I just want to. A commotion near the entrance interrupted them. A child's voice. High and distressed. Cutting through the cocktail chatter like a blade. Mama. Mama. Her entire demeanor changed in an instant. Luna. She moved toward the sound without another word. Without another glance at him. He followed automatically. Confused. Trying to process what was happening. A little girl stood near the doorway, tears streaming down her face, looking frantically around the crowded room. She wore a yellow dress with small flowers on it. Her dark hair was pulled into 2 messy ponytails that were coming undone. She could not have been more than 3 years old. Mama, the girl cried again, her voice breaking with genuine distress. Mama. I am here, baby. I am here. She swept through the crowd and gathered the child into her arms with the practiced ease of someone who had done this 1,000 times before. What happened? Where is the caregiver? A flustered young woman hurried over, apologizing profusely. I am so sorry. She just bolted when I was helping another child. The childcare room is right by this entrance, and she must have heard the noise, and she is so fast, and I tried to catch her, but... It is okay. Her voice suggested it was very much not okay, but her attention had already shifted entirely to the child in her arms. Luna, sweetheart. You cannot run off like that. You scared Mama. Wanted you. The little girl's words were simple but clear. Hiccuped through tears. Missed you. I know, baby. But you have to stay where Mama can find you. Okay. Okay. She rocked the child gently, murmuring comfort, completely focused on calming her daughter. The noise of the reception faded to background static. He stood frozen 3 feet away, watching this scene unfold, his brain struggling to process what his eyes were seeing. The child. This little girl in her arms. Dark curls. Fair skin. And when she finally turned her tear-streaked face away from her mother's shoulder, wiping her eyes with small fists, he saw his own eyes staring back at him. The champagne glass slipped from his hand. The crash of shattering crystal made several people turn and stare. But he could not notice. Could not process anything except the overwhelming reality crashing over him in waves. That was his child. His daughter. She had been pregnant when she left. She had raised a child alone. And that child was his. The math was simple. Brutal. Undeniable. The timing. The features. The way the little girl's expression shifted from distress to curiosity as she noticed the strange man staring at her. It was all there. Written in genetics and time. She looked up. Saw his face. Saw the recognition dawning there like a sunrise made of devastation. No, she said quietly. Fierce. Protective in a way that made the word feel like a physical barrier. Do not. But he could not stop staring. Could not breathe. Could not process anything except the magnitude of what had been hidden from him. What he had caused to be hidden from him. How old is she? His voice came out barely above a whisper. That is none of your business. How old? Around them, the reception had gone quiet. People were openly watching now, sensing drama, drawn to it like moths to a flame. She is mine, she said, her voice low and dangerous. That is all you need to know. But his gaze was locked on the child. On his daughter. On the little girl who shared his eyes and had no idea who he was. She is mine too. The words came out cracked. broken. She is my daughter. My daughter. She cut him off, her arms tightening around the child. I raised her. I loved her. I protected her from ever hearing the words you said to me. She is mine. Tears streamed down his face now. Hot and humiliating. Completely beyond his control. Please. I did not know. If I had known. You did not want to know. Each word landed like a hammer blow. You made it very clear that I was nothing to you. That what we shared meant nothing. That I meant nothing. So forgive me if I decided to protect my daughter from ever feeling that way. The child in her arms, Luna, was starting to cry again, frightened by the tension she could feel but not understand. Marcus appeared, immediately positioning himself between them. I think you should step back. I need to talk to her. She has made it clear she does not want to talk to you. Please. His voice broke completely. Please, just let me. The answer is no. Her voice came from behind Marcus now. Whatever you think you are entitled to, you are not. You made your choice 2 years ago. I did not know. You did not want to know. Her voice rose just enough that people nearby stopped pretending not to listen. You looked at me the morning after the most honest night of my life and told me I was just someone who worked in your building. So forgive me if I decided my daughter would never hear those words. She pushed past Marcus, heading for the exit. Luna clung to her neck, crying softly. He followed, desperate, destroyed. Please. Just let me explain. Explain what? She whirled on him in the corridor outside the reception hall. Explain how you are suddenly interested in being a father now that you have seen her. Explain how you are going to make up for 3 years of her life that you missed. Explain how I am supposed to trust you with the most precious thing in my world when you could not even trust yourself to be honest with me. I was scared. Everyone is scared. Her voice echoed off the walls. Everyone who loves someone is scared. That is not an excuse. That is just being human. And you chose your fear over me. Over us. I know. His own tears were falling freely now. He did not try to stop them. I know I did. And I have regretted it every single day since. Regret does not raise a child. Her voice was quieter now, but no less fierce. Regret does not wake up at 3 in the morning with a screaming infant. Regret does not change diapers or sing lullabies or teach her to be brave when the world is scary. I did that alone. He felt his knees weaken. Tell me how to fix this. You cannot. There has to be. There does not. She shifted Luna to her other hip. The little girl had stopped crying, was watching them both with wide, confused eyes. Some things cannot be fixed. Some mistakes are permanent. She started walking toward the parking structure. He followed, a few steps behind, his entire body shaking. They reached her car. Marcus was already there, having taken a different route. He had the driver's side door open, ready for her. I will follow you back to the hotel, Marcus said quietly. She nodded, too exhausted to speak. She was buckling Luna into the car seat when he appeared beside the vehicle, his reflection ghostly in the window. Please. He could barely form the word. I know I do not deserve anything. I know I destroyed what we had. But she. His voice cracked again. She is my daughter too. She closed the car door carefully, making sure Luna was secure. Then she turned to face him. Biologically, yes. In every other way that matters? No. That is not fair. Fair. She laughed, but there was no humor in the sound. You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that I spent 9 months growing a human being alone? Is it fair that I gave birth alone, terrified, with no one to hold my hand? Is it fair that every single milestone, her first smile, her first word, her first steps, I experienced alone because you made it clear I was not worth the risk? Each sentence cut deeper than the last. I wanted to tell you. Tears were streaming down her face now too. God, I wanted to tell you so badly. I had the phone in my hand 100 times. But every time I started to dial, I remembered the look on your face when I told you what I wanted. The disgust. The contempt. And I could not risk you looking at her that way. I would not. I would never. Yes, you would have. Her voice was certain. Maybe not intentionally. Maybe not obviously. But she would have felt it. Children always do. They know when they are not wanted. He sank to his knees on the cold concrete of the parking garage, unable to hold himself up any longer. I wanted her. The words tore out of him. If I had known, I would have. Would have what? She looked down at him. Tried to buy your way into her life. Hired lawyers. Fought me for custody. Used your money and power to take her from me because you suddenly decided she was worth having? No. His voice was desperate. No. I would have tried to be better. For her. For you. But you did not try to be better for yourself. She crouched down so they were eye level. And that is the problem. You only want to change because you got caught. Not because you realized what you did was wrong. The truth of it silenced him completely. She stood and wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I'm going to leave now. I'm going to take my daughter back to our hotel and hold her while she falls asleep. Tomorrow I'm going to take her home to our life. And you are going to stay out of it. Please. Goodbye. She got in the car. Started the engine. He remained on his knees in the parking garage, watching her taillights disappear up the ramp and into the night. Marcus stood a few feet away, his expression unreadable. She is right, you know. About all of it. He could barely respond. Could barely breathe through the sobs racking his chest. But I have also never seen anyone as destroyed as you look right now. So maybe there is hope for you yet. Maybe. Marcus got in his own car and drove away. He stayed on the cold concrete until his tears ran dry. Until his knees ached. Until security found him and asked if he needed medical assistance. No. I am fine. But he was not fine. He had just seen his daughter for the first time. And she had looked at him like he was a stranger. Which was exactly what he was. Family, I need you to pause with me here for just a moment. Imagine being him right now. Kneeling on that parking garage floor. Realizing that somewhere in this world, a little girl with your eyes has been learning to walk and talk and laugh and dream, and you missed all of it. Every single moment. Because of your own fear. And imagine being her. Protecting your child from the very person who helped create her. Loving so fiercely that you would rather carry the weight alone than risk your baby feeling unwanted. This story is not simple. There are no easy villains here. Just broken people trying to figure out how to move forward. If this is hitting you in the chest right now, drop a comment. Tell me who you understand more. Him or her. I want to hear from you. Now let me tell you what happened next. 3 days passed. 3 days of him collapsed in a hotel room he had not left. 3 days of not eating. Not sleeping. Just existing in the wreckage of everything he had learned. On the 4th day, he reached out through the only connection he had. Marcus. The phone rang 4 times before the other man answered. She does not want to talk to you. I know. Then why are you calling me? Because I do not know what else to do. Silence on the line. You really hurt her, Marcus finally said. Not just disappointed her. Destroyed her. She spent months putting herself back together. She does not owe you absolution. I know. But she is not the only one involved anymore. There is a child who deserves to know where she came from. That is a convenient argument from a man who has been absent for 3 years. It is also true. Another long pause. I will ask her. But if she says no, you need to respect that. No lawyers. No power plays. No using your money to force your way in. Understood. I mean it. If you try to take that little girl from her mother, I will personally make sure you regret it. Understood. 3 more days passed. Then a text arrived from an unknown number. Saturday. 10 in the morning. Brighton Park. Near the fountain. Come alone. Do not make me regret this. He stared at the message for 5 full minutes before responding. I will be there. Thank you. No response came. Saturday morning arrived cold and bright. He was at the park an hour early, sitting in his car, watching families arrive. Children on swings. Couples walking dogs. The ordinary rhythm of weekend life that he had never been part of. At 9:55, her car pulled into the lot. His heart hammered against his ribs so hard he thought it might crack through. He watched as she got out, opened the back door, helped Luna out of her car seat. The little girl was wearing pink sneakers today and had her hair in braids that were already starting to unravel. She held her mother's hand as they walked toward the playground. He waited until they were settled on a bench before approaching, moving slowly, carefully, like he was trying not to spook something wild and precious. She saw him coming. Her expression was guarded, exhausted, but not actively hostile. Progress. Maybe. "Thank you for coming," he said, stopping several feet away. "I am not doing this for you." Her voice was firm but not cruel. "I am doing this because I had to explain to a 3-year-old why a strange man made Mama cry. She deserves better than my anger." He nodded, his throat too tight for words. Luna peeked around her mother's arm, studying him with the same intense focus she had shown at the reception. He crouched down to her level, keeping his distance. "Hi, Luna. I am." He looked up at her mother, silently asking permission. The smallest nod. "I am your father. Your daddy. But your mama raised you, and she is the most important person in your life. I just wanted to meet you." "Why?" Luna's voice was high and clear, her pronunciation still slightly imperfect in the way of very young children. The question gutted him. "Because I made a mistake. A very big one. And I am trying to fix it. Mama says sorry when you make a mistake." Luna's logic was simple, direct, devastating. "Your mama is very wise." Luna nodded solemnly. Then she asked, completely changing the subject with the ease of a child's mind, "Do you like the playground?" He blinked, caught off guard. "I do not know. I have not been to one in a very long time." "Come see." Luna decided, tugging her mother's hand. "There are swings. And a slide. And a thing you climb on." Her mother looked at him, her expression impossible to read. "You can stay for a little while. But if she gets uncomfortable, you leave immediately." "Understood." They walked to the playground together, Luna between them, occasionally glancing up at him with curiosity rather than fear. It was something. It was not enough. But it was something. The weeks that followed established a fragile rhythm. Twice-a-week visits. Saturday mornings at the park. Wednesday afternoons at Luna's dance class, where he would sit among other parents, mostly mothers who eyed him with curiosity and occasional suspicion, and watch his daughter attempt ballet moves with varying degrees of success. Luna was not particularly graceful, but she committed to every movement with fierce determination, her small face screwed up in concentration, her tongue poking out slightly when she tried something especially difficult. She fell often. She always got back up. After class, she would run over to show him what she had learned, her explanations breathless and jumbled. "And then we do this. But I fell. But it is okay because everybody falls. And then we." He listened to every word like it was the most important information he had ever received. Because in a way, it was. She still did not trust him. That was clear in every interaction. The way she kept physical distance. The way she watched him with Luna, looking for any sign of failure. The way she never left them completely alone. He did not blame her. He had not earned trust. He was barely earning tolerance. But he showed up. Every scheduled time. Rain or shine. Sick or healthy. Busy or free. He restructured his entire life around Luna's schedule. Moved meetings to early mornings or late evenings. Delegated responsibilities he had once insisted only he could handle. Said no to opportunities that would have taken him away. His colleagues noticed the change. "You are different," his assistant commented one afternoon. "More present. Less distracted. I have better priorities now." One Saturday at the park, everything shifted. Luna was playing on the climbing structure, fearless as always, scaling heights that made his chest tight with worry. She was almost to the top when her foot slipped. The fall was not bad. A few feet at most. But she landed hard enough to scrape her knee, and the shock of it produced instant, terrified tears. She moved toward Luna, maternal instinct propelling her forward. But he was already there. Without thinking, without planning, he scooped Luna into his arms and held her close, one hand cradling her small head against his shoulder. "I know, sweetheart. I know it hurts. I have got you." Luna clung to him, her tiny body shaking with sobs. He rocked her gently, murmuring comfort, moving to a nearby bench where he could sit and hold her properly. She arrived with the first aid kit she always carried, but he had already assessed the wound. Not too deep. Just scraped. Scared her more than anything. He cleaned it with gentle efficiency while Luna hiccuped through her tears, watching him work with wide, trusting eyes. "You are being so brave," he told her, applying a bandage decorated with cartoon characters. "Hurts." Her voice was small. Vulnerable. "I know, baby. But it is going to feel better soon. I promise." Luna studied his face with that intense, evaluating look that children have. The one that sees through every pretense and defense. The one that measures worthiness in ways adults have forgotten how to do. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "Do not go yet, Daddy." The world stopped. His hands froze on the bandage. Her breath caught audibly. Even the background noise of the park seemed to fade into silence. Luna, oblivious to the magnitude of what she had just said, snuggled closer into his chest, still sniffling but calming. He looked up at her mother, terrified that he had overstepped. That he had somehow manipulated this moment. That she would take Luna away and end everything right here. But her eyes were full of tears. And she nodded once. Permission. Acknowledgement. Something that might, in time, become acceptance. "I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart." His voice was completely wrecked. "Daddy has got you." They stayed like that for several minutes. Him holding Luna. Her watching them. All three of them processing the weight of that single word. Eventually Luna's tears dried and she wiggled down, ready to play again. The moment had already passed for her in the way things did for small children. "All better," she announced, examining her bandaged knee with satisfaction. Then she ran back to the playground, fearless again, the injury already forgotten. After Luna ran off, he sat frozen on the bench, staring at his hands. "I need a minute," he said, his voice barely steady. "Okay." He stood on shaking legs and walked toward the parking lot. He made it to his car before the sobs hit. Everything he had missed crashed over him in waves. Her birth. Her first sounds. Her first steps. Her first words. All those moments, gone forever. Irretrievable. Years of her life that he would never get back because he had been too much of a coward to recognize what mattered. He cried until he had nothing left. When he finally composed himself and returned to the playground, she was pushing Luna on the swings again. The picture of normality. But when she looked at him, really looked at him, she saw what had happened. The tear-stained face he had tried to clean up. The red eyes he could not hide. "Are you okay?" she asked quietly while Luna was distracted. "She called me Daddy. I know. I do not deserve that. Probably not." She paused, then added quietly. "But she gave it to you anyway. So now you have to earn it. Every single day." "I will." The words felt like a vow. "I swear to you I will." She studied him for a long moment. "I believe you might actually mean that." "I do." "Then keep showing up. Keep being the person she thinks you are when she looks at you. That is all any of us can do." Months passed. He kept showing up. Dance recitals. Doctor's appointments. Bedtime stories when she finally, hesitantly, allowed him to be part of the nighttime routine. He learned to braid hair badly, but Luna wore his attempts with pride. He kept spare clothes at his apartment for the sleepovers that slowly became more frequent. He learned that Luna was cranky before lunch and energetic after naps and asked approximately 7 million questions per hour about everything from why the sky was blue to whether fish could dream. He answered every single one. Marcus remained part of their lives too, becoming something like an uncle to Luna. The two men had developed a wary respect, bonded by their shared devotion to the two people who mattered most. One evening, after Luna had fallen asleep during a movie at the apartment, she made coffee and gestured for him to join her on the small balcony. The city lights twinkled below them. "Why are you really doing this?" she asked once they were settled, her voice carrying the weight of months of careful observation. "Because she deserves it." That is the right answer. But it is not the whole answer. He stared at his coffee cup, choosing his words carefully. Because the biggest mistake of my life was not what I said that morning. It was building a life where love was a weakness. Where caring about someone meant giving them power to hurt you. And I do not want to die as that person. People do not change. Her voice suggested she wanted to be proven wrong. Maybe not completely. But they can get better. They can recognize their damage and work to stop spreading it to everyone around them. And you think you are doing that? I think I am trying. She was quiet for a long moment. You hurt me worse than anyone ever has. You made me doubt myself. Made me feel like wanting love was a character flaw. Made me feel disposable. I am sorry. The inadequacy of the words burned in his throat. I am so sorry. Not because I got caught or because I want something from you now. But because what I did was unforgivable. And you deserved so much better. A tear rolled down her cheek. She wiped it away angrily, like it had betrayed her. I do not want to cry over you anymore. Then don't. Be angry instead. Anger is cleaner. I am tired of being angry. Her shoulders sagged. It is exhausting. And it is not good for Luna. She can feel it even when I try to hide it. What would be good for Luna? She looked through the sliding glass door at her sleeping daughter, curled up under a blanket on the couch. I think she needs to know she is loved completely. By me, always. And maybe by you too. If you can prove you mean it. How do I prove it? Time. The word was simple. Heavy. Just time. Keep showing up. Keep being consistent. Keep choosing her even when it is inconvenient. What if I mess up? You will mess up. Everyone does. The question is whether you show up anyway after you mess up. Or whether you disappear again. I will not disappear. We will see. They sat in silence for a while, drinking coffee that had gone cold, watching the city breathe below them. Can I ask you something? He said eventually. Maybe. Are you happy? She considered this carefully. I am content. I have work I am proud of. A daughter I adore. Friends who show up when I need them. That is more than a lot of people get. But are you happy? Happiness is overrated. A small, sad smile crossed her face. I am satisfied. That is better. More stable. Less dependent on things I cannot control. He wanted to ask about Marcus. Whether she had found with him what she had once hoped to find with someone else. Whether there was any space left in her life for the man who had destroyed her and was trying to rebuild himself into someone worthy. But he did not ask. Some questions were too dangerous. Some answers were too painful to hear. I should go, he said finally. It is late. Yes. He stood, moved toward the door, paused. Thank you. For letting me try. For giving Luna the chance to know me. You did not have to do that. No. She agreed quietly. I did not. He let himself out, pulling the door closed behind him with careful precision. She stood on the balcony long after his car disappeared down the street. Inside, Luna stirred and murmured Mama in her sleep. She went in, gathered her daughter into her arms, held her close. Whatever she decided about him, whatever complicated feelings remained tangled between them, this was the truth that mattered. Luna was loved completely. Without conditions. Without reservations. And that was something no amount of regret or redemption could ever take away. Luna's third birthday party was held at the park where so many of their moments had unfolded. Balloons tied to the pavilion posts. A cake decorated with butterflies. A small group of friends, both Luna's and her mother's, gathered to celebrate. He arrived with a gift-wrapped present and a heart full of gratitude for being included. Luna ran to him immediately. Daddy. You came. Of course I came. I would not miss your birthday for anything in the world. She helped Luna blow out the candles, steadying her small shoulders while 3 flames flickered in the afternoon light. Make a wish, baby. Luna squeezed her eyes shut with theatrical intensity, then blew with all her might. The candles went out. Everyone cheered. What do you think she wished for? He asked quietly, standing beside her mother as Luna tore into presents surrounded by friends. Probably a pony. Realistic. She almost smiled. Later, After the cake was eaten and the presents were opened and the guests had gradually departed, the three of them sat together on a blanket, watching the sun begin its descent toward the horizon. Luna was playing with a new toy, completely absorbed. "I want to say something," he said, his voice low so only she could hear. "And I am not expecting anything in return. I just need you to know the truth." She tensed slightly but did not move away. "I am still in love with you. I never stopped. I just learned to live with the pain of losing you. Learned to carry it like a weight that never gets lighter." Her breath caught. "You do not get to do that." Her voice was strained. "Say things like that. Act like your feelings matter more than your actions." "I am not trying to excuse my actions. I am just telling you the truth. What we had, what I destroyed, it was not nothing to me. It was everything. I just did not understand that until it was too late. It is still too late." Tears slid down her face. "You do not get to come back and make this okay just because you finally understand what you lost." "I know. Then why tell me?" "Because lying to you broke us. And I am done lying. To anyone. Especially myself. I love you. I loved you then. I love you now. I will probably love you until I die. But that does not mean you owe me anything. It just means I finally understand the magnitude of what I destroyed." They sat in silence, the weight of his words hanging between them. Luna ran over, interrupting the moment with perfect childhood obliviousness. "Daddy, come see. I want to show you something." She took his hand and pulled him toward the playground. He went without hesitation. She watched them go, her hand pressed against her chest where her heart was beating with emotions she had spent years trying to bury. Marcus sat down beside her. "You okay?" "I do not know." "Do you believe him?" She watched Luna climbing the structure, watched him spotting her from below, ready to catch her if she fell. "I believe he is trying." "Is that enough?" "I do not know that either." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "He is not the same man who hurt you. I have watched him for months now. He is different. People do not change." But even as she said it, she was not sure she believed it anymore. Maybe not completely. "But he is trying. That has to count for something." She did not respond. Just watched her daughter laugh at something her father said. Just felt the complicated knot of pain and hope and fear and possibility that had taken up permanent residence in her chest. As the sun set, casting everything in shades of amber and gold, Luna came running back. "Mama, Daddy, look." She pointed at the sky where the colors were shifting from orange to pink to purple. "It is so pretty. It is beautiful, baby." She scooped Luna into her arms. He stood beside them, close but not touching. Three people silhouetted against a painted sky. A family. Not whole. Not healed. Not traditional. But real. Present. Trying. "She called me Daddy," he said quietly, wonder still evident in his voice even months after it had first happened. "I know. I never thought I would hear that word directed at me." "Neither did I." She glanced at him. "But she gave it to you. So now you have to spend every day for the rest of your life being worthy of it." "I will." The promise hung in the air between them. She was not ready to forgive him. Might never be. But she was ready to let him try. And maybe that was enough for now. Maybe second chances were not about erasing the past. Maybe they were about building something new on top of the ruins. Something stronger. Something real. Family, as we come to the end of this story, I want you to understand something important. This is not a fairy tale ending. He did not get the girl back. She did not fall into his arms and forgive everything. That would have been a lie. What they got was harder, messier, more real. They got the chance to build something new. Not a romance. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But a family. An imperfect, complicated, beautiful family held together by a little girl who calls them both by names that mean the world. Mama. Daddy. He has not earned her forgiveness. He may never earn it. But he has earned the right to try. And sometimes, that is all any of us get. The chance to try. The opportunity to show up. The possibility of becoming someone better than we were before. So let me ask you something, family. What are you going to do with your chance? What relationships have you damaged that might still be saved? What children are watching you right now, learning from your choices? What walls have you built that are keeping you trapped instead of protected? This story is not just about a billionaire and a consultant and a little girl named Luna. This story is about all of us. About the fear that makes us push away the people we love. About the courage it takes to admit we were wrong. About the daily, unglamorous work of showing up even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. If this story touched you, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. We are building something special here, and I want you to be part of this family. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who is struggling with forgiveness. Someone who is afraid to try again. Someone who needs to know that it is never too late to become better. Drop a comment and tell me what this story taught you. I read every single one. I want to know how this landed in your heart. And come back for the next story. Because we are just getting started. I love you, family. Until next time.